God alone. I'm living for God. Yes, I am. I'm living for God alone. I'm living for God.
Hi, this is Dwayna Litz. I'm dating myself, but as Paul Harvey used to say, now for the rest of the story. So hopefully you've been sticking with me on this very interesting podcast. No wonder I had the idea for When Satan Goes to Church. So I'm writing my articles, and the stalker, nobody else calls, but the good old stalker who is going to love me till the oceans run dry. He calls and he says, Dwayna, we miss you so much, and everybody misses you. Well, I found out, that the music director had never said, Dwayna's gone, she's not coming back, because he would have had to have explained why. He wanted to keep his worship team going. He wanted to keep his music program going. And he also knew that his job was on the line probably in a matter of time. But he thought it'd be up to him as to when he would, leave and retire, if he would just play ball with the devil. So he stood up in front of the church choir and said, we've got our vote coming up, because the pastor had been taken every Sunday for the big vote to go woke. We're going to change the name of the church. All the members should be there. So he stood up. He goes, I'm for it, knowing good and well that, but see, here's the thing. The votes were private, so nobody really knew how people voted. But the music director knew good and well that it was only a matter of time. If this church really goes woke, this pastor was wanting to change the entire church. Do you think the orchestra music is really going to stay? Answer, no. So anyway, but he was trying to keep his job. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, what was true other than the fact that the Bible is true? What in the world else was true about that church? I ended up with another friend, and before I finish this story, this is the sweetest thing. She was a wonderful friend, and her husband had been a pastor and passed away. And this woman was no fool. She knew the Bible, and I sang in Sunday school, and she called me the next day, and she told me her name. She said, I want to be your friend. Well, she was really old enough really to be my mother. But I thought, when God gives you a friend, you probably want to take that friend. What a blessing she was to me. She was the only friend for real. And do you know, she didn't know what was coming either. This was way before the leadership meeting. The Holy Spirit said, reach out to her and be her friend. She goes, well, I loved your singing. And she said, I love to sing too. I said, well, God knew I needed a friend, and I could call her through this time, cry, and she would pray for me. I mean, you talking about isolated, you talking about abused in church. So, but God kept using me, and so the word kept spreading. So anyway, the stalker calls and says, we miss you. So I called him back, and that was something that none of the players were expecting in this, because they had known, this guy's bugging me to death. He's blocked. Well, they didn't expect me to call him. So I called him, and he said, I walked right into the pastor's office because I wanted to know what happened to you. What happened? Why did you leave? Why were you not coming back? Because I wasn't answering his calls. And this guy really was like a hero to me. And God used him in this scenario. And I'm very, very sorry that he could not just be my friend like a normal person, but he couldn't. So anyway, he started telling me that the pastor said that I came in his office ranting and raving. He just started making up stories about me. And he said that I was crazy. Because, see, they can't put down their Bible verses, right? So what do they do when God's using you? They do ad hominem attacks. They try to attack you. So this guy starts telling me this. I said, I appreciate you. And he said, she's not crazy. And she's got the Spirit of God. Now, here's the thing. I learned a lot about stalkers. The root of it is control. So the root of abuse is control too. And according to psychology, narcissism, because this guy kept thinking we were meant to be. And we were never meant to be. We will never be meant to be. And so after he stood up for me to the pastor, though, on the phone, I said, I want to be your friend, but I need you to not call every day, please. And I need you to repeat after me. You will be happy for me when I meet the right man, because you're not it. Can I hear you say that? And he'd cry and say, I'll be happy for you when you meet the right man. I'm telling you, like I say, you can't make this stuff up. So anyway, what did he do? He started calling every day. I said, I need a break. And then when he couldn't get in touch with me, he would call mutual friends. He would call the orchestra leader. And the orchestra leader was also a great hero there for a while. The orchestra leader and his wife also talked to the stalker, please leave her alone. And they would say, they would all, though, feel sorry for him, because I think that when people cry a lot, they learn that it can manipulate others. And, it works, right? They gain a lot of control over people. And they use the tears for people to go, oh, they feel sorry for the guy crying or the woman crying. It's abnormal. I talked to this other friend of mine. She said, a guy in his 60s that cries all that, he needs psychological help. I'm like, yeah. And through the brief period while we were talking, he had degrees. He really didn't seem mentally off, but he had an emotional problem when it came to women. He didn't know how to just have a crush on somebody or just how to be somebody's friend. He had it in his mind that we were meant to be. Get this is a little spooky, but when he couldn't reach me, he would call my friend that I told you I used to sing with in the worship team. He knew she was my friend, the one that had also gone to John MacArthur's church in the past. She's in another church, and he's calling, have you heard from Dwayna? What's the latest with Dwayna? And she said, Dwayna, it was weird, and I never answered him. And then about a week later, he did the same thing. Please call. I got to know what's going on with Dwayna. Oh, my goodness. So I end up telling the orchestra leader, please, I have tried to be his friend. What do you suggest? And he said, go silent. He will never be able to handle it, and he will never give up. Okay, let me tell you something, friends. Weeks pass, and he still does not give up. And so the orchestra leader's wife wanted to be my friend, but I said, look, if you guys are going to still be really good friends with this stalker kind of musician, I think it's best that we're not friends, because I don't want him knowing my whereabouts. And it got to the point where I found that I would block him from Facebook and he would make other profiles. And it was a little bit scary. And I could not talk about my outreaches freely and say, I'm going to go set up my table outreach at the beach today, because I kept thinking, well, he's going to show up. So somewhere in the midst of all the heartache from this church, the orchestra leader continued to tell the stalker. The stalker kept crying that I heard about. And so finally, the stalker sends me a ring. He's just not going to give up. So I go to the P.O. box, that's my ministry P.O. box where people send donations, and the stalker has sent me a ring. At that point, I said, I am not going to live like this anymore. Oh, the stalker also gave a very generous donation to Lighting the Way. But I'm a woman with a ministry. Do you think this is, as the old country song says, my first rodeo when it comes to guys they give donations to date me? Well, I don't do that, because you either give to my work, I date who I want to date, and I don't date men just because they give to my work. And it's very difficult. Life, when you try, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but things were beginning to come to a head with this stalker. So I go to the P.O. box and I get the ring, and I'd had it. And at that point, I go to the police. The rest of the story will be on the next segment, the next episode. This is Dwayna Litz, and you're listening to When Satan Goes to Church.
I'm just living for God alone. I'm living for God. Yes, I am. I'm living for God alone. I'm living for for God.